know Ed Engelbart. And Kathy helped me remind me that Ed has been a local historian for 40 years, if not longer. He's our official town historian. He was a history teacher for 37 years, I am told. Correct me if I'm wrong anywhere. But on the Historic District Commission for 25 years, that's older than me. Founding member, along with a few of us here, of the Historical Society. You were also town council for 16 years, and mayor for 3. So there's very little Ed doesn't know about anything. And there's more that he's willing to do for us, starting with tonight's talk, a history of the very hall in which we are sitting, which dates back a lot longer than any of us. Ed, take it away.
As many of you know, I'm Ed Engelbart. I've been involved with the historic community since I moved into town. One of the people who have always played a role in the history since she moved into town is Kathy Winterfield. Kathy, to a large degree, is responsible for the town getting control of the Martin Berry House. We were all trying originally to get Jones's Hardware. Didn't pan out. And we all know what happened to Jones's Hardware. It's gone, plain and simple. In the meantime, when I was involved with the community, historically as well as politically, I was asked about 20 years ago to do a lecture on this building, which has been here since the late 1800s, okay, 1890s. And in regard to that lecture, I had come here with this material which I put together. And this is material that I did not know what happened to it until Kathy got hold of me and said, wouldn't you, and when Kathy makes a suggestion, it's a little bit more than a suggestion, okay? It's almost like, wouldn't you like to do this, okay? And so that's the reason I'm here tonight. In the case of this building, it goes back to a Civil War veteran by the name of James R. Evans. I wanted to show some material on the career of this person. One of the most frustrating things that we have about James R. Evans, who provided the money for this building here, is the fact we don't have a picture of the guy. We thought we did, okay? Now, Gail, you had come up with a picture, right?
Yeah.
A while ago.
And I sent it to you.
Okay, that picture, we understand, is not of James R. Evans.
Oh.
But it's of a person with the same name,
Oh.
okay, who served in the Confederacy, Confederate Army, not the Union Army. James R. Evans, who eventually settled here, came from Canada. His family, mother and he, wound up in New York. When the Civil War breaks out, he joins the Union Army. And he has an interesting uniform called the Zouave uniform, which originally was a uniform that was used for drill units throughout the country, both in North and South. In the case of James R. Evans, he joins up at the age of 16. It's called the 62nd New York Infantry. I first got hold of some information about him, and then somebody kind of struck a note for me to expand beyond that. And believe it or not, there is a historic group in Australia dedicated to the 62nd New York Infantry that exists. And I was in contact with that group in Australia, and they provided me with a lot of material. In the case of James R. Evans, he joins up, he's part of this group with this rather unusual uniform. In fact, if you go to the Martin Berry House today, Joe Jorgensen made a replica of this uniform and put it in a figure that is life-size in one of the rooms of the house. And this group of men who joined and wore this uniform were called Zoabs. And I'm going to be showing you a picture of a Zoab uniform and the type of uniform that he wore as a young boy in this group. And this group was originally just simply a group that was dedicated to parades and participation in the history of the United States Army. But they copied everything from French troops, okay? The Zoabs were actually French soldiers who got involved in trying to conquer North Africa, the area what today would be the territories of Tunisia, Algeria, and the North African lands. They also got involved in a war in Italy. In fact, their war in Italy was battling the French, okay? And in the case of the French, okay, what you have is a war in which the French are going to battle the Austrians for control of Italy. What I'm going to be doing is talking a little bit about some of this information and talking about James R. Evans. We do not have a picture of him. We thought we did.
That was from the Bonneville Historical Society.
Right. And somebody later on said, it's not him. But the picture of Evans is actually a picture of a Confederate soldier that had the same name. And somehow or other, this picture popped up as if it was Evans, who was the person that was responsible for building this building. But let's utilize the material that's on the screen here to give you a little more information about this background. What is this building now?
American Legion.
Legion Hall.
It's what?
It's the Legion Hall.
It's the Legion Hall, okay? And why is it the Legion Hall? Because this James R. Evans built this building, created a group of men locally who were businessmen who wanted a place to meet. And what you have here is information about this group. And they were a group of men who founded something called the Junior Order of United American Mechanics. And it was a businessmen's group. Unfortunately, they were also anti-immigrant. As you know, this town was founded when? In the late 1600s, with the formation of a community formed by Dutch and Huguenots who came into community. And then eventually we get a town called Pequannock, and Pompton Plains. In the case of Evans, he came into the United States as a young boy. He joined up in the Civil War, okay, and he fought for 3 years in the Civil War. Why this guy lived, we don't know. All we know is that he survived 3 years of the Civil War, and eventually the building, which was dedicated to this group called the Junior Order of United American Mechanics, winds up here. And it was almost like a Masonic organization. In fact, if you could get up to the 3rd level, you will see furniture that is similar to a Masonic order. Anybody here a Mason? At all? Okay. Okay, no, all right. But they copied the Masonic order, and this was functioning almost like a Masonic club or order for many, many, many years, until an event occurred in 1914 in Europe. What was that event? World War I, okay? I had an uncle who was a member of the United States Army in World War I. He actually was born in Germany. At the age of 24, he was drafted into the American Army. He wound up in France fighting the Germans, even though he spoke German and he was born in Germany. In the case of World War I, what we have after the war is the organization of a veterans group. There was a similar organization that existed after the Civil War. It was called what? Does anybody know what it was called?
Grand Army of the Republic.
Excuse me?
Grand Army of the Republic.
The Grand Army of the Republic. It was given that name by the members who organized it because they felt they were saving the United States Republic from the war that split it for 4 years, called the Civil War. In the case of Evans, Evans joined the American military, served 3 years. When he's over and done serving, he eventually, in the 1890s, becomes a recipient of the highest medal award. Does anybody know what that medal is called?
Medal of Honor? Did he get the Medal of Honor?
Right, it's called the Medal of Honor. And you can't get any award higher than that in the military. And Evans, while he came into town, not with that award, he came into town as a place to live, but he also came in to be the person in charge of what other facility that we have in town.
Train station.
And you know,
Train station.
the train station, the Pompton Plains train station. And he served in that role for a number of years. He gets married. He also joins to different organizations. He becomes involved with a bank, okay? That bank still exists in a sense today. Anybody know what that bank is? In fact, if you look at the Pompton Plains Railroad Station today, you will see a picture. It didn't begin originally as a bank. It began as a stagecoach line. What is that famous stagecoach
Wells Fargo.
line?
Wells Fargo.
What is it?
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, okay? And that stagecoach line eventually disappears and it becomes Wells Fargo Bank. And we have a sign now on the side of the station, showing that sign, which once time existed on the station, but then when they did some renewal or fixing up of the station, the sign disappeared, and it was in the basement, and it was found when we had decided to make application to the county to get money to fix it up, and it was found. And we then went to the Wells Fargo Bank to get money from them to restore that sign, which is now located on the building, or was returned to the building, but with another sign, since the original was in very, very bad condition. In the meantime, what you have is James R. Evans becoming the station agent. He gets married, he settles here, and he's involved in the community of Pequannock and Pompton Plains. Eventually, he moves elsewhere. He dies in 1918 during the period of World War I. And eventually he gets involved with this building, which originally was dedicated to this Order of United American Mechanics. And eventually the building becomes the American Legion. The American Legion was the veterans group that was organized after World War I for those men who served in World War I. And these are images dealing with the group, and we're gonna deal with the American Legion now, which comes from this organization. If you look on the screen here, you'll see the preamble to the Constitution of the American Legion. Who's a member of the American Legion? Okay, we got so many. You're the commandant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Commander.
Yes.
Okay. And what's your name?
Jim Van Dyke.
Okay. And what you have here is the preamble to the Constitution of the American Legion. When you become a member of the American Legion, you have to state this preamble and state, in effect, that you adhere to these principles.
We just did it last night.
Excuse me?
We just did it last night. It's done every
You
meeting.
did it last night,
Yeah.
okay? And what does it say? Preamble of the Constitution. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism. You've heard that term before, Americanism? Okay. It does pose a problem, particularly if you are an immigrant, but can an immigrant join the American Legion?
If they can join the military, they can join the American Legion.
They can, right. So they are in effect saying, I want to be an American. I might have come from this country or that country, but I've served this country to defend it, protect it, and be a person who is interested in preserving the elements of Americanism. And it goes on to preserve the memories and incidents of our association in the Great War. What's the Great War that we had talked about? World War I. That's when it begins. Okay? To inculcate a sense of individual obligations to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of might. In effect, it's saying we are dealing with those individuals who were felt to be a threat to the United States in 1917, okay? And those threats have to deal with the threat to our independence, a threat to our nation, and the need for men and women to serve this nation, okay? And it says here to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to concentrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. If you're a soldier, you have an obligation to your fellow soldiers, to help them in time of need, in time of conflict, in time of war. Paul, can you turn to the next one? Okay, now, this is information about the beginnings of this building, which eventually become the American Legion Hall. It is named after a person called John Lookoff. Okay, why John? Who was John Lookoff? Anybody have any idea? This is what this building is called. He was a World War I veteran. He lived in a part of Pequannock, which has another name today. What is that part of Pequannock?
Lincoln Park.
Excuse me?
Lincoln Park.
Right. Lincoln Park? No. No. Nice try.
Riverdale?
Riverdale.
Okay.
Okay.
One or the other.
That's where John Lookoff.
One or
John
the other.
Lookoff.
To the left or right, north or south.
Good try. John Lookoff
Went the wrong way.
fought in World War I. Unfortunately, what happened to him?
Died in World War I.
He was killed in World War I. The family decided where should he be buried, where many World War I veterans are buried.
First Reformed Church.
Where?
First Reformed Church.
I can't hear you.
First Reformed Church Cemetery.
No,
Oh,
Overseas?
Arlington?
overseas. Where do you think overseas? Where was much of the
Normandy.
fight? What?
Beaches, one of the cemeteries that beaches in Normandy?
World War II.
Where's Normandy?
France.
France. That's where he's buried. He's buried with comrades who died in World War I with him, and he is buried there. And if you look here, it gives you an overall view of this building, and we're going to see some other pictures that are connected. But this is technically John Lookoff American Legion Post. It does have a number, and what is the number that's shown there? 242. And if you're a member of the Lookoff Post, you have to know that number, 242. Paul, next one. Okay, now, what we know about this building comes from different sources. There was a woman who kept a diary. Her name was Eva Ferguson Warden. The Warden family, I believe, is still in town, okay? And Eva Ferguson Warden was involved with keeping a diary of things that took place within this community. We declared war on Germany in April of 1914. And here you have the starting of a diary that goes back to 1915. And these are things that began to happen in this building, which originally was a businessmen's meeting hall, which I had mentioned here. And these are some of the things that took place here. And many of the things that took place were community events, school events, for school kids, and so on and so forth. And it also talks about some of the things that were taking place. For example, October 31st, tennis club, masquerade at Hall. So they would do different things. What are some of the things that are taking place here?
Well, we still have, we celebrate like St. Patrick's Day, we have, live, like, not live concerts, but live music.
Right.
The hall gets rented for parties and for celebrations.
Paul, what was taking place before we entered this building tonight?
Classes,
Yoga. Yoga.
different types of classes.
Over what?
Yoga.
Anybody know?
Exercise.
Well, we have yoga classes, we have
Yoga classes?
exercise classes, there's a
Right.
karate class.
It's a way of maintaining this building and providing funds for the American Legion Post, okay? And this is a group which also benefits the Historic Society of Martinberry and the historic community that operates out of the railroad station as well. And all I can say is I am thankful that you are here to learn a little bit about the historic community that is involved in Pequannock. And this talks about some of the things that took place in this hall, going back to 1901, okay? Although that was when Eva Ferguson was born, okay? And, but it shows how this building was used for the general community. Paul, next one?
Why does it say Paul Revere Hall?
What?
Yeah, why does it say Paul Revere
Why
Hall?
was it called Paul Revere Hall?
Because it was also named after Paul Revere at its beginnings, okay? Which I believe Evans used that term, okay?
I think it was that before it was anything else.
Yeah.
It was built as Paul Revere Hall.
Yeah, and then eventually, when it became the American Legion, it's named after a legionnaire or a person who was in the American Army who was killed during World War I.
So the Mechanics Association, was that just, not to say simply, but was that just a businessman's organization?
That was a business.
That just met here?
Right, that was founded by a Civil War veteran who was the railroad station person who ran the railroad station for the railroad, okay, when he came into town.
And then
And
they
this is
borrowed
after the
they
Civil
borrowed some
War.
of the Masonic tendencies? Because upstairs there's still like
I
we
don't know
discussed.
whether he was a member of the Masons.
Right.
Okay, but this organization, the way it was organized, as if it was a Masonic temple.
Okay, that's my question,
Okay,
okay, 'cause
and that's how that
'cause
came
upstairs
about
there's a
in
big
terms
throne upstairs.
of the look
Yeah.
upstairs. And a lot of that furniture was removed at one point, and that Masonic connection is found on some of the accoutrements that were part and parcel of the Mechanics Hall. Okay, and Paul, next one. And this is what the building looked like. When do you think this picture was taken?
1920s.
Excuse me?
1920s?
How do you know 1920s?
You asked me what it was taken.
What?
I don't know.
He remembers.
It was there.
You were there? Oh, obviously. How do you know it was 1920s?
Just guessing.
Telephone poles.
Is he right? Cause I see a car.
Is it
early
telephone?
What do you see there?
Quantity.
A 1920s early Ford,
Okay.
okay? So this picture is probably the early 20s when this building became an American Legion Hall, okay?
You notice there's plenty of parking too. No other buildings.
And much of the building remains the same, except for certain areas. Next one.
Yes. Yeah. There we
If you
go.
look here, this is what it looks like today. What's the difference?
Entry
Windows.
to the bar.
Okay, there's a different way of getting in to the meeting hall in the basement. And what's in that meeting hall? A bar. It's also an area where you have different activities taking place, sometimes musical groups. And where do you guys meet normally?
Downstairs.
Downstairs,
Yeah,
okay?
it's considered a club,
Yeah,
a bar, and it's only open to members of the American Legion. And if you're not a member of the American Legion or a son of the American Legion, you have to be a guest.
okay. And that's some of the things that are still taking place here in this hall. And we're here because the Historic Society of Pequannock made an arrangement with the American Legion.
This hall is different, has different, upstairs here has different rules than downstairs. Downstairs is, for lack of a better word, is locked up. It's for members and sons of the Legion. If you're down there, you're a guest of somebody.
Okay,
But in the hall, you know, this is an open
right.
hall.
Yeah.
And this is open to different
Yes,
individuals
yes.
with different
Yep,
groups
Yep.
for activity.
And no alcohol, we don't supply any alcohol up here for any of the parties or anything that takes place up here. If they do, they bring their own stuff and our stuff, anything
Right.
stays downstairs.
And this hall for liquor sales has to get a liquor license, right?
We have every license in the world. We pay the state of New Jersey, we pay the town, we pay the county, we pay everybody.
Well-
We pay the state a lot.
When you really think about it, this building has served this community for a long, long time. And they've done a beautiful job with fixing it up.
Well, it's had a lot of support too from
Yeah.
people in the town, and it's just,
You got it.
know, during COVID, when, you know, the taxes,
And
we had no income, they did a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe, saved the hall.
why the mailbox?
What's that?
Why the mailbox?
The American flag mailbox, or the,
It's the only mailbox.
What can you say there clearly?
there's.
Can't.
it's
The American
The
flag.
Yeah,
Why? Because if you have an old flag
Yeah.
that is not in good shape, you can take it and put it in that
we empty
mailbox.
that mailbox out about.
Now, what do you
twice a
guys do with that?
Twice a week, and we take bags, we just took, there's a shed that's right here that gets filled about once a month with just huge stacked garbage bags full of American flags.
And what happens with
We
those
take, we
flags?
we take them over to American Legion Post in Whippany where they burn them.
And they burn them, okay. And that's the belief of the
Oh,
American
we
Legion,
can't keep ahead of that mailbox.
okay, of how to deal with flags that are not in good shape, that are in poor condition, and it should be treated accordingly in an appropriate manner. Okay, and what you have is the American flag flying as well. And those are some of the activities that take place here, okay, to deal with the history of the American Legion as well. Next one. And this is a old picture of this site. And what makes it an old picture?
There's no electricity. Is there electricity?
Horse and buggy.
No electricity? What else?
Horse and buggy.
You see a horse and buggy. So that's probably taking it back to when it was built in the 1890s during the time of James R. Evans. This photo, 1915, north to the North Mountain Turnpike. It features a horse and buggy at Paul Revere Hall. This building was built in 1896. Anybody have any information about 1896 here? More than likely, nothing, other than what has been written on this building at that time, and by the local chapter of a fraternal organization called the Junior Order of the United Americans, okay? And if you look there, it has Paul Revere Hall when it was first designated, and then it became the look-off post when the World War period is over, and they're dedicating it to John Lookoff. Next one. And what is this here?
Dinky dinky pearly boo.
This is saying what is part of the history of this building. It's dedicated to American soldiers, legionnaires, and this is one of the ways that soldiers during World War I celebrated their involvement in the war. And this is called Hinky Dinky Parlez-Vous, which has to deal with many of the songs that arose during World War I to celebrate involvement of Americans and other men and women who served in the war. Next. And what do you have here? You have American Legion Auxiliary, John Lookoff Unit 242, charted 1934. And it has past presidents. And what are you gonna do and put on that list?
I don't know. What am I gonna do?
I hope you put your name.
There's a lot of names
Because
before
what
me.
does it do? It has
There's a lot of names.
individuals.
All the stuff
who are-
that's upstairs, that way.
It is upstairs.
That is upstairs. All that
Wonderful.
history is upstairs.
Okay, so make sure you put your name. The other thing, what are you seeing here below?
The memorial, the church.
At the First Reformed Church, there are located what?
4.
Memorials to men who served in the American Army during the various wars. And what is this dedication shown here?
World War I.
World War I, 1917, 1919, okay? Recently, I was going through some old photos that my father had taken of his uncle, of his brother. And the photos I found out that go back to 1919. And they show my uncle in his World War I uniform. And my father managed to get my uncle to put on a gas mask, okay, from World War I. But much of the pictures were an engagement party when my uncle came back from World War I and met or had known somebody, and it was an engagement party, a series of photos. Now, what you're seeing here is the monument to World War I in our community to honor the veterans of that war. And if you look here, you'll see a bronze plaque with the names of those who fought in World War I. And why? Anybody know anything about this stone? Why this stone? This is called Pompton Pink Granite. Okay, this is called Pompton Pink Granite. It exists in Pompton Plains, in Riverdale, okay, and in other communities nearby, okay? Whether you realize or not, this stone also exists at a very famous institution which has become in dispute by the President of the United States, because he doesn't like what's going on inside.
Smithsonian.
What?
Steps for the Smithsonian.
Right, the steps for the Smithsonian are made of this rock, which is only found in this area.
Pompton Lakes.
It's,
Pompton
right,
Lakes.
it's called Pompton Pink Granite. And who brought this material to Pequannock Township and nearby communities? Who was the president in the early 20th century?
Woodrow Wilson.
He became president when the former president was assassinated.
Roosevelt?
What?
Roosevelt?
You got it, Teddy Roosevelt. This stone, which is called Pompton Pink Granite, was sent down to the Smithsonian Institute when he built the second building that became the Smithsonian, okay, today. And the steps are of Pompton Pink Granite, only found here. And it has that name because of the colors. If you ever go over to Chilton Hospital, you'll see examples of this. Where? Is there a driveway that leads to the entrance of the hospital? Is there a place to park cars? And what's in between the driveway and where you park your car?
Ditch.
A ditch. And what's in those ditches, or ditch? Pompton Pink Granite Stone, okay? And I was naughty quite a while ago. What did I do? I took a piece of Pompton Pink Granite from that ditch.
Is it still there? Just asking for a friend.
Now, where can you find Pompton Pink Granite today?
At your house.
Yes, you can, to my house. Also, where else?
There's a piece at the Martinberry House.
There's a piece of, in the Martinberry house.
Yeah.
In addition, okay,
Walmart?
how many of you have been on Route 23?
Never.
Where's
By
that?
Walmart. By
Okay.
Walmart, right?
You going south on Route 23, you then go on what road? 287,
Yeah.
okay? And what's on the side of the hills?
The quarry?
You have Quarry, we have Pompton Pink Granite, and you also have
Stone Wall.
surviving rock, which is Pompton Pink Granite. As you come off, heading south on 23, and then heading toward Boonton, okay? And you'll see some of that stonework. But it has to be close to Pompton Plains and Riverdale, okay? And you'll see it, okay? So if you want to, you might be able to steal some of it, but you put your life in your hands, because you don't want to fall in front of a truck that's coming down from 23, okay? Next one. Okay, now, this here has to deal with commemoration of the 100th anniversary of America's entrance into the Great War, or World War I, okay? Which is the official title for World War I. And as you see here, the Township of Pequannock has a memorial monument to veterans of World War I who served, and that's the Pompton Pink Granite Stone. But there's also monuments to those who served in World War II, in the Korean War, and what other wars? The Vietnam War as well, okay? And it just happens that the First Reformed Church made its property across the way from the town hall for those monuments honoring the veterans of our wars for the 20th century. Next one. And who is this guy here? That's John Lukov, who is buried in France. He was born in 1894, died in 1918, the last year of World War I, wounded but died from injuries, and is buried in France. Name used only also to identify Pompton Plains Legion Post, which is dedicated to him, 242. Next slide. And here are the other stones that are found at the church, which are to World War II veterans who were killed or served, and the Korean War and the Vietnam War, okay? And those are part and parcel. And the American Legion has a lot to do with these dedication stones to our veterans. Next one. And anybody ever see this picture here? Okay, probably you've never seen this picture at all. What is this a picture of?
Trading.
These are male citizens of Pequannock, Township, who paraded in defense of Pequannock Township during World War I. And they got together, they formed a unit, they marched, and in effect, if we get invaded by those hated Germans, the Kaiser, they will defend Pequannock Township. This is July 4th, 1917, Pompton Plains section, and these are individuals who formed a defense unit to protect Pequannock or Pompton Plains from those horrible Germans who we were with. Next one. This here is the type of banner, or actually sheet, that a veteran would often have made for him after the war. And this was a person by the name of Card. Anybody know by that person, James W. Card?
B. Kettlewood.
Who was it?
B. Kettlewood's father.
It was B. Kettlewood's father. As you know, B. Kettlewood had a husband who was in World War II. He was a tanker, and I used to be liaison when I was mayor or served on the council to the fire company. And I remember not speaking to him, but to B's husband, And I always remember him saying he was always shocked when he was in World War II, when he came to a concentration camp. And he always said, if anybody said there was no Holocaust, I would say to them, you are lying, That was Jim Kettlewood, because he entered a concentration camp where he saw what happened to people who wound up with these German concentration camps. But this is the type of thing that often a veteran of World War I would display in their homes, And this was a picture of B. Kettlewood's father, who was a World War I veteran. He is buried in the cemetery of the First Reformed Church. Next one. And this here is another picture of a veteran. Normally, we always think in terms of men. Can a woman join the American Legion?
Yes.
Yes, they can. And this is a woman who did. And this is Lieutenant Colonel John Stack putting a medal on a woman veteran from Pequannock, okay? And, for many, many years, women were often not recognized for their service, okay? But this was a woman who served often as a nurse during World War II and World War I, okay? And the next one, and I think that ends the
That is part
material.
one anyway.
Okay, and anything more? I don't think there's anything else beyond that I have.
Do you know what her name was?
Excuse me? It should be listed there in the newspaper
You know
article.
who that is. Grace Astley,
That's
Okay.
where it was, I couldn't
remember?
Yeah. Okay,
Well, people just want.
and she was in service as a nurse during World War II, okay? Now, Paul has certain information that he has produced as well, and is connected with the history of this building and the veterans as well. And
Well,
let me get out of your way,
just a few things.
okay?
This was just initial information I sent to Ed.
And it has to deal with the history of this
This
building.
all has to do with, I can go through them alphabetically. One of the things that happened here in this hall, and also down in what is now Acme Fabrics, that was also community hall, were acts and plays and minstrel shows.
Oh.
Always held as fundraisers. They're very popular.
Acme Fabrics was a community hall.
Yeah, that was Pequannock's version of this hall.
Was it really?
We have two legions, one in Pequannock
Yeah, that's Fort
and one in
Biscuit.
Pompton
But Acme
Park.
Fabrics was, the building at Acme Fabrics was the community hall down in Pequannock?
Correct. We have photos going back to the 20s of that.
No kidding.
Unfortunately, it's in the floodplain, so they would have to periodically stop what they were doing and clean the water out. But yeah, we have photos going back to the 20s.
Do they have pictures inside Acme of that?
Yeah,
Really?
there's actually a photo of the cast of a minstrel show,
Oh, no.
including a few people in blackface. That's how it was done back then.
They even had blackface at school activities as well, believe it or not.
Now, I included this article because even though it was held down there, it was under the auspice of this post. Well, let's see. Oh, yeah, this is something that I actually got from Lou Hebert here a few years ago. There's the pamphlet that's still around someplace. What does it mean to say, "I am an American Legionnaire"?
And that's probably going back to, the 40s, probably?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it tells you that Jim will be very interested in this. I can send you a copy of this, although
Could you please?
I think you have copies of this upstairs yet. That's where Lou took me. And it's even got, you can even join by.
Looks like a membership sheet that you would sign up for.
This was World War II era, if I recall correctly. Could be. Oh, yeah, this is hanging on the wall downstairs.
It is.
And we can all look at that at some point. Those are the original founders of this post?
There's a whole wall, downstairs with picture, a lot of the historic stuff, that's,
Which I want to get better pictures of for our files too. This is down there, hanging proudly on the wall on the other side of the bar. This was something that Jay Wanzig picked up on eBay. I bet you, probably none of you have ever seen it because it's been in the safe at the Railroad Station Museum. For Revere Council number 197, Junior Order of United American Mechanics, Pompton Plains, New Jersey. And that's what a close-up of what the little button looks like. Now this one, until I talked with Ed about this, I did not understand why it was called a Masonic temple. It's because, as you pointed out, upstairs was based on the Masonic temple design. But again, it's a little bit better picture of that 1920 whatever car there. obituary of Captain James R. Evans.